Hi, welcome everyone. Sorry, there was a little bit of technical glitch, but I think now that is sorted. I hope all of you can hear me and see me as well. Okay, so like I was telling you all earlier, today we're going to be looking at technical analysis. One of the analysis that most traders and investors do to identify good trading opportunities in the market or even investment opportunities. Now, let me just define technical analysis, and the other analysis is the fundamental analysis. Fundamental analysis is nothing but studying the fundamentals of a particular given instrument or a stock. For example, let's say you're looking at Apple as a stock and you do a fundamental analysis. You're going to look at what Apple does, what are its services and products, and you're also going to look at the sales numbers, and you're going to see if it has a good scope in the future for investing into Apple. So these come under fundamental analysis. But when it comes to technical analysis basically helps you try and identify opportunities based on the statistics or the price movements that has happened in the past. So technical analysts, people look at the price movement that has happened in the past to predict future price movements. Now, a disclaimer over here is just because it has happened in the past does not mean it should happen again in the future. There could be cases where even technical analysis kind of fail. But however, technical analysis still do work a lot of time because everybody is looking at the same levels to either buy or sell, and hence you identify good buying opportunities or opportunities where you could potentially book your profits. Let's move ahead with all the indicators that I'll be talking to you all today. So apart from the Fibonacci that I'm going to be teaching you all later on, I just wanted to introduce you to something known as average true range. Average true range is ATR. Basically, it measures how many dollars or how many points a particular instrument can move on a given time frame. Now, if most of you are very new to trading, I will just let you all know this. A time frame is something that you're looking at on a chart, and I will show it to you on a live chart as well, so it's more easier for you to understand what I'm speaking about. Whatever I'm going to speak right now will be again demonstrated on a live chart. So if you are not able to get a hang of it, do not worry, I'm going to do it live. But for the ones who've been trading and who understand trading quite a bit, ATR is something that we use to identify how many dollars or how many points a particular instrument can move. For example, again, let's take Apple. I want to know how many dollars can Apple move in a single day, and that is where ATR is going to help me identify how many dollars it can move. Another disclaimer here is ATR only gives us how many dollars on an average can move, but it does not give you the direction of the movement. ATR again also will help us identify where to keep take profits and stop losses on a side note. Now here's an example of S&P 500. If you look at the bottom level, I've opened ATR over here, and the ATR. Sorry, I think my screen went off. Let me just open that back to you all again. I think all of you all can see the screen now again. Okay. So now this S&P 500, S&P 500 again is an index that follows or it comprises of top 500 companies of US. And if people usually, if they do not want to invest in every single stock, it would be easier to invest in the basket directly, and they look at buying S&P 500 for their investment and holding. Now this is a S&P 500 chart. If you can see, it's on a monthly chart. So you're going to be seeing every candlestick which represents over here is a single month. Now on S&P 500 at the bottom, the blue line that you see over here is the ATR that I have implemented. Again, I will show you the same thing on live chart, but this is just for demonstration purpose. You see ATR on the blue line shows about $276 over here. So what ATR is telling me is S&P 500 on a monthly time frame, I can expect it to move about $275. So now once we identify the moment of how many dollars S&P 500 can move in a month, now I can plan on my investment decision. Now, for example, let's say S&P 500 for this month has dropped by $275. So I know on an average S&P 500 moves about $275 and it has already dropped by $275. So that gives me one indication, or it can be one of my indication saying it would be a good level to buy because that is the average movement S&P 500 is seeing and the movement is already over and you're getting at a much better price to buy. Now let me go into a smaller time frame on same S&P 500 on a weekly chart. Now you see on a weekly chart, S&P 500 moves on an average about $129. So if I'm looking to take advantage of S&P 500 on a weekly momentum, I know the maximum I can take advantage is about $130. Again, it is not limited to $130. It can come down or it might not move if it is a very flat market or if there is a lot of geopolitical or any other news that comes out that can affect the markets. You could see a movement going more than $120 or $130. Now let's look at the same chart on our daily chart. Now if you see on a daily chart, S&P 500 moves roughly around $50. So now I understand on a daily chart S&P 500 moves only about $50. This is previous data, so it is not moving $50 currently, but then I will show you on the live chart how many dollars it moves on a single given day. I hope you all understood the point of ATR. Now this is just a 30-minute time frame for people who look at trading opportunities. Now you see on a 30-minute time frame, S&P 500 moves only $5. So if you're trying to make a profit on a 30-minute chart, you can expect to make a $5 in terms of returns or even in terms of risk. It can go against you by $5. So like I mentioned to you, the disclaimer on ATR is ATR gives you how many dollars it can move, but it does not give you the direction of the move. And for the direction of the move, we have other indicators that we look at. Now let's come to Fibonacci. Now Fibonacci is very, very interesting for most of you all who have not seen Fibonacci before, and if this is the first time that you all are seeing Fibonacci, Fibonacci is basically a series of numbers. It starts with 0 and 1. I can see that my share screen is not visible. I hope you guys can see my share screen. Is everyone able to see my screen? Yeah, I think the screen is back on. Sorry for that again. As I mentioned to you, Fibonacci is nothing but just a series of numbers. So series of numbers starting with 0 and 1. So if you add 1 plus 1, you get 2. You add 1 plus 2, you get 3. You add 2 plus 3, you get 5, and it goes on to infinite. Now, why are these numbers so important? Let's look at what Fibonacci and where all Fibonacci kind of appears in life. Now, okay, there is a fun fact, Fibonacci sequence, also known as a golden ratio. I will explain a little more on what golden ratio is a little later. Appears a lot in nature. Patterns such as spirals of shells, curve of waves, sea heads, pine cones, branches of trees can all be described using the mathematical sequence. I will show you a couple of images on what they mean by this. The fact that things as large as a spiral of galaxies and as small as DNA molecules follow the golden ratio rule suggests that Fibonacci sequence is one of the most fundamental characteristics of the universe. And now this is what studies have identified. They've seen everything that we see in our universe, which kind of has the same pattern running throughout. Let's look at a couple of examples. Now here is a spiral. It's a geometrical representation. On the left hand side you see if you make 1 plus 1 cube you get 2, and you add 2 plus 3 you get a 5 cube which covers all 1, 2 and 3. And let's say for example 5 and 8 gives you 13. The 13 covers all your cubes within this particular range. So and hence the geometrical representation of these Fibonacci numbers. The interesting part about these representation is also that if you connect the corners of these boxes from right to left, it forms a spiral. Let's come back to the spiral in a short bit. Let's see the example on this tree. Now, most of us have seen a tree or a plant, or if you have a plant at home, you can always do this experiment at home. Try and do it on a smaller plant so it's easy to count. If you have a plant, just try and count and see how many stems are there in that particular plant. Most likely it will either be, if it's a very small plant, probably 3 or 5. If it's a little bigger plant, you might have about 8 or 13. But nevertheless, how many ever stems each of these plants have, which usually ends up with a Fibonacci number. Another interesting fact is, on a particular stem there might be a number of leaves that is growing. If you count the number of leaves, you will see that the number of leaves is either 3, 5 or 8, depending on the size of the plant. And even over there, you see these Fibonacci numbers coming into play. Now, Fibonacci in nature, this is the sunflower. Obviously, we cannot see any numbers in this, but then what you can notice is the spiral that is being formed inside these sunflower seeds is pretty much on the same ratio as what you saw on the geometrical representation. Now, more so, if Fibonacci appears everywhere in life, I think now you guys can be able to guess the Fibonacci on the entire universe. You see the same spiral that is happening even in our entire galaxy. Now, why am I giving you all this background about Fibonacci? And all of these have nothing to do with trading. The reason being, Fibonacci also appears in the stock market. It also appears in a lot of technical analytics that we do. And we use Fibonacci to identify patterns. So now that we know that Fibonacci has a certain pattern, it always holds to those patterns. We try and identify these patterns that happen even on the stock market. Now, however, the stock market is always zigzag, it either goes up or comes down, and it's always in a wave format and not a spiral format. And we need to change the numbers into ratios, because if you notice everything, or if you are very new to trading or investing, you'll always hear the stock markets, or you always hear a banker or an investment banker talk about percentages. They're going to tell you how much percentage you can expect from your investment, or how much of percentage risk is involved in your returns. So in the same way, we need to identify percentages using the Fibonacci numbers for us to identify certain patterns in the market. Now, moving forward, let me give you what the golden ratio is. Like I mentioned to you earlier, the golden ratio is 61.8. Now, most of you will be wondering, we saw the Fibonacci series of numbers which did not have any 61.8 in it. So the way you derive your Fibonacci ratio is very simple. You take the first number from the Fibonacci series and divide it by the second number and multiply it by 100. So you should get 61.8. Let's take that as an example. If you allow, let's take another 2 minutes just to do that, and see if the numbers are coming to 61.8. You can post your answer on the chat itself. Now here we have the Fibonacci numbers. If you have a calculator by your side, or if your mobile is free, why don't you open your calculator and we'll do a couple of calculations to identify 61.8. I'm just going to choose random numbers. So we learned that if you take any of the first number, divide it by the second number and multiply it by 100, you get 61.8. So let's start with the easy number, 144 divided by 233, and multiply it by 100, and you can post your answers on the chat. We'll just take about 30 seconds to do this, and we'll move on. All right, I hope you guys are able to calculate. I am not seeing any responses yet. We'll just give it another 30 more seconds. Okay, there's a response 0.618. Yes, that's correct. You need to divide the first number by second number multiplied by 100, so that becomes 61.8. Perfect. All right. So we've got, let's just try the same thing on a bigger number. Let's look at probably this one. 17,711 divided by 28,657 into 100. All right, now I get a lot of answers pouring in. I'll just give it another 10 seconds before we move forward. Perfect. So it looks like everyone's got the number. So, and hence it is known as the golden ratio. So you take any number from the series and you divide it by the very next number to get 61.8. So 61.8 is the golden ratio, which is seen pretty much in everything. I would always encourage you to go and do your own research and look into more of Fibonacci. It's very, very interesting, and it'll probably give you a lot of insights in many other areas apart from finance. Now, before we move on to using 61.8 percentage, now, like I mentioned to you, market moves in percentage. It moves up, it moves down. It moves up by a certain percent, it drops down by a certain percent. And hence, we are converting the ratios, sorry, converting the series of numbers into ratio to get the percentage. Now, we have a percentage, we're going to be implementing the same thing on your live charts. Now, before I go to the live chart, I want to give you guys an analogy that you can keep in mind, so that while I'm explaining to you about the Fibonacci on the charts, you can keep this in your mind. So one example about again Fibonacci is we saw that Fibonacci appears everywhere in nature, right? So you can do this experiment at home when you get time. If you measure the length of your hand, when I say a hand, I mean from your shoulder bone till your fingertip. Let's say, for example sake, my arm is 100 centimeter long, right? So now if I want to see where does 61.8 percent of my 100 centimeter comes in, when you do that, you will identify that 61.8 percent of your entire length is from your elbow till your fingers, right? Now, why am I giving you this as an example is because when you look at your human hands, your forearm to your wrist and till your fingers, the length of the arm is quite longer compared to your length between your shoulder till your elbow, right? The reason or the way the hand has been designed is for us to lift things. So it becomes a very good point for us to lift if our elbow, from our elbow onwards, it's a little more longer. So your elbow acts as a pivot point. So in the same manner, we look at the charts in the markets. So let's say, for example, we have Apple here. I've taken a monthly chart again. I'm looking at a very broader perspective of Apple. I see Apple went all the way from a low point to a high point before it started dropping again. So what we do using Fibonacci is once we see a trend begin, we measure from where the trend begins and then we measure up to where the trend ends. So in this case, we are looking at monthly candlestick, and I've noticed after about 2-3 months, it has been now the trend has ended and it has started going down. Now the question is for all investors and all traders, okay, now if the market is going down, at what point should I be ideally buying Apple so that I can buy and hold? Now this is where Fibonacci is going to help us quite a lot, and especially 61.8. Now in this case, I've already drawn my Fibonacci. I've chosen the bottommost point or where the trend began to the highest point where the trend ended. So this is a 100% move of this particular rally, right? Now, if you notice, after it started dropping, it comes to a certain point before it picks back up again. And I want to know how much percentage of this 100% move has it dropped. Or the analogy that I gave you, if this entire thing is my hand, where does the elbow come which gives me support for me to buy back? So in this case, it came to this level, and if you go back and see on your Fibonacci, this is at 61.8. I will do the same thing on live, so it will be more clearer for you to see it. The similar pattern appears again. So earlier we were looking at 2015 to 2016, and then in 2016 we see a drop and it increased from here. Now you see from 2016 when it started going back up, then there was another drop that came in eventually in 2019. Or sorry, this was in 2018. So I do the same thing. I measure my length of this particular rally from 2016 to identify when should I be buying back Apple. And if you see this point bounces back up, and if you go back and see the Fibonacci number or the ratio, it's at 61.8. And the same thing goes on. I will do more of this in the live chat, so it will be more easier for you to understand. And of course, if you all have any questions, please do typing in your questions on the chat. I'll try and cover as much as possible today. I hope so far I've been clear. These are some harmonic patterns. I will not go into harmonic patterns today, but then I'm just keeping it out there so that in the next session probably we can cover only harmonic patterns. But I'll just show you how harmonic patterns look. And harmonic patterns are something that is created or identified using Fibonacci. Here are a few examples. Okay, before we move on to examples, harmonic patterns helps us identify when to buy and when to sell, when or what to buy. Right now, one thing that we need to know also is, although it gives you an indication of when and what to buy, there is always risk management that is in place, because not all the time a 61.8 is a reversal point. There could be cases where it comes down all the way till 61.8 percentage and then it continues going down because of due to certain fundamental reasons. So a stop loss and risk management is always advised irrespective of how well a strategy works. Now, looking at the patterns, now this is a Gartley pattern. It was named by Scott Gartley, named after him, the one who identified these patterns. I will not get into too much of detail, but then we'll come back to this at the end of the session if we have some more time to cover this. But if you look at the numbers over here, these are numbers that is identified using Fibonacci numbers. So I'll just tell you in a very broad perspective what pattern does. When this X, A, B, C and D points form exactly on these Fibonacci numbers, the probability of the market continuing to go up becomes a very high probable trade only if all of these numbers have fallen right into place. And we do identify such opportunities where the risk reward is amazing. In certain cases the risk reward is 1 is to 10, and it can also go even higher than that, but the maximum I've seen so far has been roughly around 1 is to 10. But on an average you can get a risk reward worth 1 is to 3, 1 is to 4. When I mean, what I mean by risk reward for the ones who have not been trading is, let's say you have bought an instrument, or let's say this was Apple and you bought Apple, and you invested an amount in it. Now if you're risking about $100, when I say 1 is to 5, you're risking $100 to make $500. So these are some good risk reward ratios which you can get using the harmonic patterns. Now let me just move on directly to the live chart. All right, so I think most of you all can see my live chart now. Let me just check. I'm just clearing all the tabs so it's clean. I'll start from the beginning so that everybody, even if you're very new to the platform, you'll be able to understand, right? Okay. Now, in your search button, let me go back to Apple since I've been giving you examples on Apple itself. I'm just going to open my Apple chart. These are your default charts that open when you open your platform. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from my monthly chart. So the candlesticks that you're seeing is every day's movement. Now let's look at a broader perspective. Let me start from monthly candlestick. Now this how Apple looks on a monthly candle. I'm just going to change my candlestick. I'm going to be using Heikinashi instead of the normal candlestick. We'll not get into candlestick reading right now, but then just try and understand the concept of Fibonacci for now. And if you are not very well versed with the candlestick, you can just do a YouTube tutorial. It's very simple to understand. I'm just going to skip directly to the Fibonacci and how to identify, good entry points. Now, I'm going to change my candlestick to a different type of candlestick, which is known as Heikinashi. Now, Heikinashi is basically candlesticks that has been formed based on the previous moving averages. But again, I'm not going to get into technicalities of it. But if you all can notice, with your regular candlesticks, you'll see a lot of red and green mixed. But when I go to Heikanashi, which I'm going to change now you'll see either a series of green or a series of red that comes in. Now, why does this help me? It helps me identify trends. Now, let's look at the trend here. Like before 2012, it was more or less a very sideways movement. But you see a lot of trend beginning from 2014. Then here is 2016, which I was talking to you about earlier in my demonstration. Let me just show you an example from 2016, so it's more easier to see. I've just zoomed in. Now, what we learned about Fibonacci is we identify the bottommost point where the trend began and to the highest point. Now, how do we find Fibonacci? You need to go to your draw tools, okay, which is there right at the bottom. And at the bottom, you will see Fibonacci here. All right, let me do that again. So to find Fibonacci, you need to go to your draw tools at the bottom and you will find Fibonacci right at the beginning. Now, once you click on Fibonacci, now always remember the analogy that I gave you of my arm. So my arm till my finger is the length that I measured to identify 61.8, and that happened to be my elbow, right? Is the same thing. Now you're looking at a trend, and the trend is like your arm. It has stretched out, and then now here there is a drop. So I start measuring from the starting point of this particular rally to the end point where the rally pretty much stops. Okay, now, okay, that's very squeezed in. I'll try and make it a little bigger so you all can see it with me. I'll try and make the font bigger. I think that way you should be able to see it. Right. So let me remove the other numbers except for 61.8. Since we are focusing on 61.8, it should be more clearer for you all. Okay, done. So if you can notice, the measurement that has been taken is taken as 100% move. So that means from top to bottom, this is a 100% move. And like I gave you the analogy of my arm, if my entire arm is 100%, this particular trend also is 100%. Now we also learned that for my arm, my elbow is a very crucial point for me to be able to lift stuff, right? In the same manner, if you look at it, 61.8 of this entire length could be a very crucial point for the particular rally. Now, in this case, you see it dropped back exactly somewhere close to 61.8. In this case, it touched exactly 61.8 and it bounced back up. So, as an investor or as a trader, instead of worrying about when to enter, you just need to measure your length of any rally and wait for it to drop by 61% and then you can buy into it. Let me give you another example to make it more easy to understand. Let's say, for example, you have a bottle of water and the price of the water is, let's say, $1, right? And now suddenly you see you feel that the price of the water is going to drop from $1, but then eventually, because of the demand for the water, the price of water is going to eventually come back up. So but then you want to be buying water bottle, or you want to invest in the water bottle, so that when it goes back up in price you make a profit. Now if you buy it at $1 and then the water bottle prices drop, you're going to be in a loss. So instead of that, what you're going to do is you're going to be waiting for the price to drop. And let's say, for example, tomorrow the price of water from $1 has dropped down to 50 cents. Right now you're getting the same water bottle which was $1 earlier at 50% discount, and 61.8 is pretty much the same thing. If this was the entire rally, or this was the entire water bottle's cost, and this particular product is going to give you a long term gain, but you want to buy it, but you want to buy it at a very good price and not right at the top. So you always wait for the drop to happen, and when the drop happens, now you need to understand, should I buy when it drops by 10%, should I buy when it drops by 20%, 50%? And in this case, whenever you use Fibonacci, if this was the 100% move, you always wait for a 61.8. There is no harm in buying when the prices drop by 10%. There is no harm in buying something when it drops by 20% because you're still getting a discount. But nothing is as good as buying something that is come down by 61.8%, which is a very good discounted price, and where you can buy at a much lower price and be much more profitable when it goes back up. Now, I will do another example on the same chart. Now we measured this particular uptrend. How about the next uptrend that came in? How about from 2019 to wherever it went up till 2020 and the pandemic drop happened? Let's look at this particular rally. I'm just going to move the same thing. I'm going to measure from the bottom to the top of this rally. Now I'm not going to be looking at my previous graph. Now I'm more concerned about my present rally. So this rally has gotten over. There's a new rally that has happened, and in this case I will wait again. Let's say if I was an investor or a trader who came in at this point of time and I want to invest, I'll be trying to see if it's a good time to buy Apple or not. And in this case, I would recommend wait for that drop. Like I said, get a discounted price. So this went up, it dropped by a certain percentage, and if you look at it, even this one came down by 61.8%, and it has bounced back up. Right now, this is what has happened in history. Let's look at what is happening today. Today, the rally began from here. This was in 2020, last year, March, and it has come up till here, and we are still waiting. So now, what does my Fibonacci tell me? There is no opportunity for me to enter. There could be case where Apple can, from today's date, continue going up, and I might miss out on this rally if I'm going to keep waiting for 61.8. But however, if I have the patience to wait for it to come down till 61.8, that would become a much better buy for me, and that would be a very good entry, and I will not have to suffer any losses if the market by any chance starts dropping from these levels. Now let's look at a scenario where we buy at today's price and not wait for a discounted price. Let's assume we bought it today and the market starts dropping. So let's say it drops back to 61.8. You're going to make a loss of 50% if it drops all the way from here till here. Right now, the current price is almost 134, and it is expected. I mean, not expected. It could drop till $88, right? And you see these patterns appearing in Apple, especially because Apple is one of the most traded stock. Apple is one of the stock that is held by most fund managers. So the psychology between in the minds of investors. So you see there's a rally and then it drops by roughly 61.8% on Fibonacci and then bounces back up. So on those basis, if it has happened in the past, there is a possibility it could continue happening because this is how the investor psychology works. And if it does come to 88, would be a good price to buy. I'll just give you a simple trick that I've used apart from Fibonacci. Okay, now I'm not going to be using any Fibonacci at all. What I'm going to be doing is I look at all my red candlesticks and I look at all my green candlesticks. Let's look at the red ones first. So there is in your draw tools, again, you go to your draw tools, there's something known as price. So this price measurement range, it helps you measure the range. So let's say the price of Apple started dropping from this peak to this bottom. So I'm going to measure from this peak to this bottom, right? And you see it has dropped by 43%. I'll do the same thing for the next one. So I see another drop that is coming over here and it has dropped all the way to roughly somewhere here. So you see that's about 37%. Now you see another drop from this peak to these levels over here, which is 39%. And now we are looking at last year, the pandemic drop, which happened from Feb to March, peak to bottom, right? Now, can you see the common things or the average drop that has happened on every drop, except for November 2012, where there was a big tech drop. Apart from that, which was a 44% drop, you see every other drop that has happened till now is somewhere roughly around 39 or somewhere between 35 to 37%. So your average drop expected on Apple, and these drops not necessarily has to do with Apple as a company. These drops could be a overall global crisis, or in last year's case it was the pandemic, and that's when the drop came in. And some drops or some corrections also happen when people start booking their profits. At this point of time, the market has recovered quite a bit, and people decide to close profits, and you see a drop coming into the market. But those drops are buying opportunities, and if a fund manager or any investment or technical analyst will watch out for such drops. Now, on Apple, it makes it very easy for all of us to understand at any given point of time if Apple from its peak. I'm hoping this is the peak, or the peak might happen even higher. I won't be able to predict the future, but at whatever point Apple starts dropping, I get ready to invest into Apple, because now I know if it drops by 35% or anywhere between 35 to 39%, it is a good buying opportunity. Now, in this case, let's say it looks like Apple is consolidating and there could be a downturn. So, just based on that assumption and assuming this is the high and it is not going to go higher than this, let's see where Apple can drop down till if it comes down by 35%. So, I'm going to choose the top, and I'm going to draw all the way till 35 or 38% roughly, right? So we saw Apple drops by 43%, 37%, 39%, 35%. I've taken an average of 38%. And let's look at the price. If it drops from here, where is the 38% going to come? It's going to come somewhere here, and that is about $88, right? Now, this was without using my Fibonacci. I was telling you, if you use Fibonacci, the 61.8% of this entire rally is 88.6, sorry, $88 dollars for Apple. Now, without using Fibonacci, just using the previous historical patterns, we see that Apple still has the potential to come to $88 based on the previous psychological moves that has happened on Apple. So let me, now that you all have seen this chart, let me draw Fibonacci back into this. Let me just open a new chart. I think I will keep my percentage moves. All right, so the new chart is showing me the same thing. Okay, I hope most of you all have understood the price movement over here. I'm just going to drop my Fibonacci on the last rally that has happened. I'm going to close this, open Fibonacci. I'm going to measure my bottommost point to the highest point here again. Okay, now let me remove the other numbers. Yeah, I'm just going to make this default. Perfect. Now, if you notice the bottommost point to the highest point, and from here, I'm expecting, based on previous historical moves, if this is the peak and the peak has ended or the uptrend has ended and the downtrend is slowly going to begin, I'm going to expect it to come down all the way till 88. 88, I'm talking about the price of Apple, come down till 88. And this is where I would re-enter into Apple. And this Fibonacci helps us identify without taking too much of stress over there. Of course, always do a fundamental study about any product that you invest into. Apple, we know it's a good fundamental stock as of today, and hence we can take a buy at 88. But for whatever reasons, if the market is dropping on a different instrument, when you use the same logic, please also look into what the fundamentals are. If there is something very, very abnormal or something very negative for the company, then probably the 61.8 might not help you much. But however, if you still believe in the company and you want to be invested, you can always buy it when it drops by 61.8. Now, again, I have drawn Fibonacci and I'm going to draw my price to measure the price. So if this drops all the way from the peak to 61.8, how much does it come down by? 34%, sorry, 37%. Now we noticed that 37% or 34% or 38% has been consistent for Apple for the last 1, 2, 3, and 4 drops. So hence we expect the similar pattern to occur again. But the prices of Apple has definitely changed and it's not going to be the same. The price on Apple right now is at 134, while in the previous time before the stock split, in this case, let's not assume the stock split. We'll just assume that the price of Apple was 30. So earlier it was trading at 30. It came down all the way till 22. But as of today, your investment will be on $144. Or when you buy it at $88, you'll be buying it at a much higher value. Irrespective of the value, in terms of percentage, the percentage remains the same. Right. So before I move forward, if you all have any questions, you can ask me. Okay, I have someone who has also said maybe it will not drop. You're absolutely right. It is not necessary that it has to drop. And Fibonacci is not supposed to be considered until and unless a drop has begun. Like in this case, the drop has not begun. However, one of the candle has given a bearish signal, but I still cannot say this is going to become a downtrend. There could be a case where this could continue to go up, and a drop might come maybe once it reaches 180, and then from there you might see a drop. And let's assume the prices went to 180. I'll be measuring Fibonacci from the most bottom point till 180, right? That is where I'm going to, oh sorry, this is not Fibonacci. Yeah, here's Fibonacci. I'm going to measure from my bottommost point till 180 to see where the drop can come down till. So in this case, my 61.8 is a little higher than what my 61.8 is on this particular rise. But yes, you always use Fibonacci only once the trend has reversed. I'll try and show you a couple of examples on a smaller time frame chart. Let's look at before I move into a smaller time frame chart, I will give you an opportunity to probably you all can give me an instrument and let's try Fibonacci on that. It can be anything. It can be a stock. It can be a commodity. It can be currency. If you all have any specific instrument, let's put Fibonacci on that and try it out. Like I told you, not every instrument respects 61.8. There are ones which goes beyond 61.8, but however 61.8 acts as your reference point for you to enter. Okay, I have okay, a lot of people want especially on gold. Okay, cool, let's do gold. I'm going to do gold on the monthly time frame again, and then probably if you want, if you're going to look at a short-term view, I can also do it on a short-term view. But let's start with monthly and see how gold has performed and how, more importantly, has Fibonacci helped anybody take any kind of decision based on its movement. Again, I'm going to change my chart to Heikin-Ashi. Now you'll notice that the minute I change it to Heikin-Ashi, you see everything became either a series of green or series of red. Let me do that again one more time for you. So this is your normal candlestick. You'll see a lot of red and greens. I am going to change it to Heikin-Ashi. Okay, now it's like series of green and series of red. Okay, now how do we measure Fibonacci? We look at rallies. Okay, these were small rallies that happened, but let's look at the big ones. Okay, now we see there was a huge rally that happened from all the way starting from October 2008, and it peaked in 2011, and a couple of months later we saw that the down trend has begun, and this is where I'm going to put my Fibonacci to see, okay, at what point of time should I start investing in gold again. So I'm going to measure my bottommost point to my highest point. Right now in this scenario we see that once gold has dropped to a significant level, it started bouncing back up, and this level again was at 61.8. So gold dropped all the way till 1136. Actually it dropped a little more below than that, but then this point gave me a good entry point for me to buy and invest into gold. Right, so similar case. Now this is something that happened in the past. Now we are looking at today I'm going to be measuring this rally because this is the most recent rally that we've seen that happened all the way from 2018 and which ended in 2020, and now it looks like a downtrend. So now, as an investor, if I want to buy gold and hold for a very long term, because I'm looking at a long term chart right now, I would definitely wait for gold to give me a good entry again. So for my entry, I would refer to my Fibonacci, and in this case it shows about 1500. I mean, now one thing that you'll need to keep in mind is 1500 is something that nobody speaks about in the market today because they are talking about today's market price. But when you're looking at a monthly time frame, 1500 move on gold could happen, but it could happen 2 years later. So but irrespective of where it happens or when it happens, for me, a reference point for as an investor to invest and hold gold or good level to enter for a long term perspective would be only when it comes down till 61.8. Let's do the same thing on a very short term time frame. Let's say you're looking at gold not on a long term horizon, but on a shorter time horizon. Let's look at a daily chart, or not even a daily chart. Let's look at someone who's trying to take advantage of gold price movement on a daily movement. So I'm going to do the same logic now. You see, gold has been flat. There's not been very, I mean, there are significant rallies on a very, very small time frame, but these are something that will become too frustrating if you want to trade on the small time frame. However, you can on a small time frame. So let me make this a 4-hour chart so there's more data. Yeah. Okay. Now you see, let's come to, I'll just expand these for you all. Yeah. Now we can see a couple of rallies that has happened. So I will draw my Fibonacci. I see it rallied all the way up from here, and this was the downside. In this case, it did not come till my 61.8, so I did not buy it. Then there was another rally that happened all the way from this point to this point, right? So let me just close this so this does not get confusing. In this particular case, you see, and it's very small. You see, it came down till 61.8 and it bounced back up. So this would have been a place where I would have bought. Now let's look at the next rally after that. The rally began from pretty much somewhere here and ended at this price. Right, in this case again it has not touched my 61.8, so I will wait for the prices. Probably if it comes to 1755, or I can also measure this entire upside. If it comes somewhere close to 1758, it would be a good level for me to buy for intraday meaning I would buy it today and expect it to bounce back up by 10-20 dollars and I book my profit. I'm not going to base this decision for the next 2 months. This decision is based on a 4-hour chart, so maximum I would hold on to this trade will be for 1 day or 2 to 3 days max. Now we've learned how to identify Fibonacci, and okay, there's also a request on US30. Okay, let me just see this on US32. There's US30. Let me. US30 has been very flat for short term, so might not have too many opportunities. But let's just look at a little longer time frame. So it'll give you Hiknashi. All right. So now we've seen the drops on US30. So this was the pandemic drop that happened here. This was the pandemic drop. So before this drop came in, you see there was a good rally that happened over here, correct? So let's just measure the rally over here, bottommost point to the highest point, right? So this has breached 61.8. However, 61.8 would have still been a very good level to enter. Now, if you look at even the smaller moves that has happened historically, like let's say you see some drops here. This was a rally that happened. It took support on 61.8. So most of them do take support on 61.8, and the ones which do not, like for example this one. So this looked like it was going to be a downtrend. This would have been an ideal level to enter, but it never came till 61.8. And these are trades that I would ignore because it did not give me a good discounted price to enter. So it's always about trying to buy a rally when it comes down to a discounted price. I'll try and do it on a 5 minute chart. Again, for example, please do not do this on a 5 minute chart. It's going to be very, very hectic, and it's going to be too painful to take trades. But let's look at a 5 minute chart. For example's sake, let me make this into a 15 minute chart. Now I see this was a huge spike that has happened, and there's a gradual downside. So if you look at this on a 30 minute chart, I think it'll show you much more clearly. So because this is a significant move that has happened here from this point to this point, I will measure this rise, and if you all can see it clearly, if you all can see this clearly, the first time it touched 61.8, there was a spike back upside. It came back down. It is still testing over this. So ideally for this particular rally, if I want to re-enter into this rally, I would buy US30 somewhere on 61.8. Right, so this is how you use 61.8, and you can also use it reverse, which I did not get into because a lot of people do not understand short selling. All this while I was measuring the rally, correct? Let's see what happens when you measure the drops. So in this case, you're going to measure from top to bottom. So when you measure top to bottom, it shows you at till what price can it go and then drop back down again. Okay, let's do the next drop. I'll do another drop here, which has happened at this level here. From this point, it dropped. This has gone slightly above 61.8. I would have had a stop loss, so definitely my stop loss would have triggered. But however, this gives me a good indication as to where the drop can come down from. You can pretty much, when you try this at home, I would recommend try and do Fibonacci on every rally that you see, to see how many times it works, how many times it doesn't. Like on Apple, you saw on a monthly chart, it pretty much worked on every single drop. But it depends on prices, I mean on instrument to instrument. However, I would still advise you to take a second opinion from your consultant before you start implementing or before you start trading on Fibonacci. Fibonacci gives you a good level to enter and exit. However, risk management is the key to be successful using Fibonacci. Talking about risk management, I'll just show you how we look at keeping stop losses. Let me go to a different chart that's moving. Probably, I think today France was moving. Okay, I think France also has moved quite a lot for the day. Let me see something that way we can. Let's try on gold. I think gold might have an opportunity. Yes, perfect. So gold, like I said, if it comes to for intraday, again I'm talking about a very short term time frame. Let's look at it. Let me expand this a little more. So now we understand that if this was the rally that had happened on gold, or you can actually even take this particular rally if you look at it on a daily chart. Let me do this on a daily chart. Yeah, so this will show you a much more clearer view. One point to note is the more you go on a larger time frame, the smoother the charts will be and easier for you to identify entries and exit. But however, your results will not be seen in one single day. It could take time before the price comes towards your take profit. Now, since I'm looking at on a daily chart, I see there was a rally here that happened. In this case, I would have expected it to drop back down somewhere here. That will be 61.8% of this rally. Since it did not happen and the rally continued, now I discount the previous rally and I'm keeping an eye on the current rally that has happened and I'm waiting for it to come down to 1750. Now let's assume I'm going to take a trade on that. So I'm going to be ready for this particular trade. I am expecting it to come down till this level. So this is my limit order ticket. Let's say I buy about 10 ounces, for example, which is $17,000. But now my account value is only $10,000. I'm taking more than what I have. So hence a stop loss is always wise to keep. And in fact, any trade that you take or any investment that you make, always have an exit plan because not everything always is going to go as per plan. There could be cases where it can just go against us and we need to have exit plan. Now I'll show you how to keep an exit plan on Fibonacci. Now I had removed all the other numbers. By default, when you open Fibonacci on your platform, you have these number 23.6, 38.2, 50%, 78.6 and 88.6 that will be there on your charts. If it is not there, you can always go to your settings and add those to your system. Okay, I think my chart just went missing. Okay, it's here. Let me just show you. So once you put in all the numbers that you want to have on your chart, on your Fibonacci, basically you can choose those numbers. I usually have 161.8 and I have the rest. I have 88.6 is very important for me to re-enter. 78.6 is crucial for me to keep stop losses. So mostly 61.8, 78.6, 188, sorry, 88.6 is the most important ones. I'm going to make the default and click OK, done. Yeah. Okay, let's get back to our chart. Now that I have all my Fibonacci numbers, I hope you guys can see all of these numbers. I'll try and make the font a little bigger again. Okay, so I think most of you can see the numbers now on the screen. I have all my numbers. So if this was my 100% move, when it drops down, this has dropped by 23%. If it comes down a little more, it has come down by 38%. If it comes down exactly half of this entire rally, that is 50%. And then, but we are looking at 61.8. Why 61.8? Because it is the golden ratio. That is the only reason why I'm focusing on 61.8, and that is the reason why we did the entire summary or a small foundation of what Fibonacci was. Fibonacci is a series of numbers that appear everywhere in life, and if you divide your first number by second number multiplied by 100 to get percentage, you get 61.8, and hence 61.8 becomes important for your trading. Now, talking about stop losses and take profit, I'm going to keep a stop loss on my next Fibonacci number. So we know that 61.8 came by dividing by the first number with the second number. But where did 78.6 come from? It is just the square root of 61.8. Okay, and you can try this out at home again. 61.8 square root, you get 78.6. 78.6 square root, you get 88.6. And you can get into more detailed study about Fibonacci numbers, but then for the explanation part, we'll just keep it simple. I'm going to be entering, if it comes down to 61.8, that the price is 1752, and I'm going to keep a stop loss at 1739. Okay, now where do we keep our take profit? So take profit will always be when the drop happens till here, we expect it to bounce back up. So it will be 61.8% of this drop. Okay, I will show you a hack. You don't have to measure it by doing all the way, like, changing the measurement from top to bottom and then finding 61.8, which is roughly here. In this case, I'll just put it so it's easier for you to see how I keep my take profit. Okay, so I keep my take profit on 61.8 of this drop. Now I'm measuring the drop in Fibonacci. Now let me go back to the main, sorry, this is not coming. Yeah, the main point that I started off Fibonacci. Now if you notice, with just one stretch of Fibonacci, you know your take profit needs to be at 23.6 if you enter at 61.8, and your stop loss needs to be at 78.6. Now, why does this help you? Because of risk reward. Can you see the risk reward over here? You're risking pretty much 1:2. So every trade that you do on a Fibonacci, or whenever you buy for at 61.8, you get a good risk reward. So let's say now, although your account is just $10,000, but you want to take a bigger risk on this particular trade because you like trading in gold, you can still take bigger units, but your stop loss and your take profit is well defined. Now, let's say if you're someone who do not want to lose $1,300 on just one single trade, you can always reduce your quantity. Let's say you do not mind losing $700, so you reduce the quantity to 50 units, and you see you risk about 660 to make $1,400. So that is a good risk reward. Now let's say if you're more conservative, you do not want to risk $600 on one single trade. You can reduce your quantity to even more lower. So in this case, you're risking $330 to make $700. But if you noticed, I've changed all my risk reward. I mean, I've changed the risk and the reward based on my quantity, but the levels on my stop loss and take profit never changed, because these prices are prices where you always need to be stick to. You cannot take a trade here and then try and move your stop loss higher, or try and move your stop loss lower, because every time you change your stop loss, now you're risking more. So this is an ideal habit or discipline that you can start developing, so that every trade has a good reasonable logic before you enter, that is the 61.8, and your risk reward is always well within your control, and your levels are also based on logic and is not just random levels where you put your stop loss where to match your risk appetite. You always put your stop loss based on logic, you always put your take profit based on logic, and your entry is the most important thing. If you enter too early, then your reward will become less, your risk will become more. If you enter too late, your risk will become very small, reward is high, but the chances of your stop loss triggering is also very high. So if you're going with the 61.8 trading rule, you always enter at 61.8, 78.6 will be your stop loss, and 23.6 will be your take profit. Again, it varies from person to person. There are a lot of people who do it a different way. I'm just showing you the most basic way or the most basic principle that you can use to trade using Fibonacci. Same could be implemented even if you're investing. It does not necessarily be for trading alone. One last thing before we wind up for the day, I would like to show you is what happens if this comes back down and hits your stop loss. Do you quit over there or do you continue? So in this case, the rule is if it comes down and hits your stop loss, you always wait for it to go, like the price to move all the way till 88.6 after it hits your stop loss, to re-enter into buying gold. So in this case, what happens is you're buying gold at 88.6 instead of 61.8, and you're going to be keeping a stop loss right below this 100%. Okay, now this is a very good trade in terms of risk reward. The same 25 units right now is risking $300, but it's going to give me a bigger reward. Whereas if I had to do it on 61.8, right, and I'm going to keep a stop loss here, my risk is still the same, about $300, but my reward is only $600. But then if my entry was at 88.6 and you kept your stop loss below 100%, your risk is still about $300, but your reward pretty much doubled. So thus hence 88.6 becomes a very good risk reward trade. But also please keep in mind, most of the 88.6 also high likely to hit stop losses. So you need to be really consistent when you do 88.6 to be on the profitable side. And one more discipline that you all need to keep in mind is, once you have put a take profit and once you put a stop loss, it is best not to change any of it. Let's say the trade starts going in your favor, you will always be tempted to book your profits early. If you can stop yourself from doing that and waiting till the targets, definitely your risk reward is going to help you be a profitable trader or an investor. So that's all for today. I hope I was pretty clear with all my explanation. If you all have any feedback, please write it in the chat so that I can help you guys even more by understanding your questions later. If you have any questions and you want to meet a person consultant one-on-one, please get in touch with your relationship manager or get in touch with Century, and they will fix a meeting for you. I hope this session was very informative, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. For now, thank you all for attending, and I will see you all in the next session. Thank you.